Next up on how to fix the Cardinals list, the quarterback room. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on, leave a like on the video. You know the drill. How to fix the Cardinals, part 2. I'm not going to remember what part it is next week. I know it's part 2 now, because this is the second one, and I can count to 2. Yesterday, if you didn't check out yesterday's show, it was a broad overview of the Cardinals as a group, front office, coaching, players. For those that missed yesterday's, this is how this stencil will work throughout this series of how to fix the Cardinals. First segment, what's going well. Second segment, what needs fixing. And third segment, how to fix it. I feel like it's a good progression so you can have a barometer check on how things are. Going well is going to vary between position groups. It was girthy yesterday because, there's a lot of things that you can be proud of and be positive towards, especially with, the growth of this organization since the end of the 2022 season. Today, quarterback room. And I say quarterback room and not just quarterback, because quarterback room as in its entirety needs to be discussed lightly outside of Kyler Murray, but still needs to be touched upon. What's going well? Kyler Murray, in my opinion, is still a top 13 quarterback in the NFL. And this isn't going to turn into me defending my Kyler Murray stance. There are people who never believed in Kyler Murray who still don't. There are people who always believed in Kyler Murray who still do. And there's people like me in the middle who leans on the side of Kyler Murray is good enough to get the Cardinals to where they want to go, but still with, thoughts in the back of my head dancing like he may not be the guy for this reason or for these reasons. The one thing that I can't shake, and I think it's rational, is look at how bad 12, 13 of the quarterback situations are in the NFL. Ask your buddy who's a Saints fan or who's a Browns fan or who's a Jacksonville Jaguars fan. This Trevor Lawrence guy just got a whole lot of cheese. There are really only 4 quarterbacks in the NFL who bona fide can win a Super Bowl right now with their team is currently constructed. 5. And then there's everybody else. The things that are going well for the Cardinals in the quarterback room is Kyler Murray is on the upper echelon of the second tier of quarterbacks in the NFL. He does things that are special that most other quarterbacks can't do. When Kyler Murray is special, he is a top 5, top 7 quarterback in the league. And what differentiates when Kyler Murray is special is other quarterbacks in their best special moments don't tip the scale on where Kyler Murray is during his special moments. We've seen it countless times over the years. Needs fixing, and I'll talk about that in the next segment. But people still undervalue what Kyler Murray does. They focus so much on the downside that seeing the upside is just, oh, that's luck. Oh, yeah, but what about this negative part? Yeah, what about this bad stuff? Yeah, oh, that's great. What about this bad stuff? Why can't you see it more? Look around the NFL at how much bad quarterback play there is. And yes, that's a reason to value Kyler Murray. I've said, tens and tens and tens of times on this show. You can't really compare the plight of the Cardinals to any other organization because every organization is at a different, a different rung on the ladder of their journey. But when it comes to quarterback play and it comes to output and production, there are so many worse situations in the NFL than better as pertaining to Kyler Murray at quarterback. And yes, that's showing inherent value that Kyler Murray brings. It's as simple as that. Has the win-loss been great? Nope. Has the second half of seasons been great? Absolutely not. Does Kyler Murray also give you a better chance to win than the majority of quarterbacks in the NFL? Yes. And when I say majority, I'd say he's a top 13 quarterback. Can be as close to his top 5, depending week to week. But I think his floor is about top 12, top 13 quarterback in the league, which is better than half. So if you're in the camp of, they should trade him away and then go draft Arch Manning. You know how many quarterbacks don't work? Most of them. So when you look at what's going well, Kyler Murray with Drew Petzing has a control over this offense the majority of the time. He and Trey McBride have a beautiful relationship together. He and James Conner and the backs have a beautiful relationship together. He makes the offensive line's job easier than a statue in the backfield. I said for countless years when Kyler Murray didn't have a good offensive line, didn't have an average offensive line, didn't have any real skill position players he could trust aside from an aging Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. The best offensive lineman the Arizona Cardinals have is Kyler Murray's legs. Kyler Murray's had to bail out this organization so many times since being drafted in 2019. It's insane how people just forget the ineptitude that's been going on. So yeah, it's going a lot better than it could be with a quarterback with a chunk of quarterbacks who are still starters in this league. When Kyler Murray is great, he's MVP caliber. When bad quarterbacks are great, which is over half the league, when they're great, their team is barely in contention anyways. Kyler Murray is better than average. And in this sport, you win if you have a better than average quarterback. And we've seen for a very good chunk of last year until the bye week, I know. We'll discuss that in the next segment. This is a guy who can come from behind. This is a guy who could lead teams on drives on the road to get victories, to continue momentum, to stay atop or close to the top of the NFC West for a chunk of the season. And while it's more difficult, sure, to have this segmented conversation after how it finished last year, it's still true that Kyler Murray is better than half of the quarterbacks or more in this league. And I know it's tough for Stum to stomach because he doesn't do it how 6'5" quarterbacks do it. But it is a fool's errand to cast a blind eye on the rest of the NFL as pertaining to bad quarterback play and not valuing Kyler Murray directly correlated to it. Now, it's not perfect. The quarterback room needs fixing. What needs to be fixed? Discuss that next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting and wondering and worrying if you were going to get any money back. And then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find your every deduction available and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No wasting, no wondering, no worrying. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available TurboTax Live full services. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. So, yeah. It's not so much, and it really isn't, and this is kind of just an existential way to look at it. it's not so much that I think the Cardinals can win a Super Bowl with Kyler Murray. I'm not saying I don't think that, but that's not what this conversation is about. I think that compared to most alternatives, Kyler Murray is well beyond the talent level necessary to stay relevant with the Arizona Cardinals and their roster is currently constructed. I think it's pretty straightforward. What needs fixing in the quarterback room? Let's do the least important thing first. I think, especially with the stakes risen to the level that they are at this point, they need a solid backup quarterback that in case Kyler Murray gets hurt, he can come in and play 70% of the ball that Kyler Murray can. And I just don't think Clayton Tune's that guy. That's nothing against Clayton Tune. I just think there's now a world where you need two solid quarterbacks, two veteran quarterbacks, where the backup can do 70, 75% of what the starter can do, so the locomotive doesn't come to a complete halt and all the wheels fall off if the starting quarterback gets hurt. Kyler Murray played. He played last year. Everything was fine. This is not so much about, oh, he's injury prone. Oh, he's going to get hurt. No, you don't wish that upon anybody. You know, your worst enemy, let alone the starting quarterback, the team that you cover for, you being fans of for so long. I think that the Cardinals need to bolster the quarterback room with a veteran guy, a proven veteran guy, a wily, seasoned vet. And it can only benefit this roster. That's one. Okay. And obviously not the most important, but it is also important when discussing the quarterback room. What needs fixing? The second half collapse. That's what needs fixing the most. Okay. That's number one. That's the overarching thing that Kyler Murray needs to get better at. I do think that, there's combination with play calling and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, Kyler Murray's on the field and it's his job to produce. It's his responsibility to put this team in the best situation to succeed between the lines, down said hike. And he's failed at that for a good portion of the time that he's been the quarterback of the Cardinals. It's just the truth. And it's something that could be the catalyst for him not being the Arizona Cardinals quarterback in 2026 if things don't fix this year. That's just a state. I don't think that that's outlandish. I mean, I think a lot of you have already thought that for years, and I think that's irrational. And this is the year. So what needs fixing first is the second half collapses of the season. Anytime the Cardinals get some sort of real 2, 3, 4 game momentum at the first weird just blip of uncertainty or there's one quick turnover that nobody expected, just the wheels fall off. And that's what happened last year. I mean, started in Seattle with the pick six. It's not even about the pick six. It was fourth down. It was a bad decision by him. Quarterbacks make mad decisions. Okay, people are expecting him to be perfect. Perfect. It's the wildest thing. I don't know fan bases. He's got to be top 5 most harshly criticized quarterbacks of all the fan bases in the NFL. I don't see a world where he's not. I was like, well, rightfully so. Dude, he's not. Anyways, overarching, number one, most important thing that needs to be fixed is the second half of seasons need to be better. Okay, that's one. Number two, and I will include Drew Petzing in this just as a Robin to the Batman, as a sidecar to the main motorcycle. Marvin Harrison Jr., as I mentioned yesterday, needs to be option 1A. Both need to be option 1 with Trey McBride. This is the offseason where Marvin Harrison Jr., if he doesn't produce, it's on him. You put him in a perfect situation to be a bona fide top 10 wide receiver in the league week 1 of next season. We saw flashes of greatness. I'll do the wide receiver room, later in this series. That is the chief concern of Kyler Murray with Drew Petzing regarding skill position players next season. Getting Marvin Harrison Jr., schemed open, thrown open, play actioned open, to being as open as Trey McBride is the majority of the time he runs routes. This is the time where it's organic. This is the time where Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't have any habits of his own in the NFL, like DeAndre Hopkins did, Larry Fitzgerald, Hollywood Brown. It's not bad habits, good habits, whatever it is. Like, they were already established. Like, they can mold. Kyler Murray and Drew Petzing can mold Marvin Harrison Jr.'s elite talent into exactly what they want it to be for this offense and for this team and for his role, which is supposed to be bona fide wide receiver 1 and pass catcher 1 and 1A with Trey McBride. Because if they can do that, that unlocks the next scary, scary iteration of this offense for opposing defenses. How do you fix Kyler Murray? How do you fix the quarterback room? Throw the ball to your talented players. But also, most importantly, it needs to be fixed with he and Marvin Harrison Jr. before week 1. Like, you got your year. You got the acclamation from the kid, okay? What Marvin Harrison Jr. has shown is, and this is kind of like the adage I say, like, Marvin Harrison Jr. versus the sideline, Marvin Harrison Jr. is elite. Already, we've seen it. He makes catches and gets his tippy toes down, whether it's the back of the end zone, like his first touchdown catch, or went all the way to the right pylon, like we saw in Miami, where he had the huge dragging crossing route, out like back shoulder throws. Like, what needs fixing is Kyler Murray plus Drew Petzing plus Marvin Harrison Jr. in unison. That's it. That needs fixing. I think it's pretty obvious. And then finally, what needs fixing from the quarterback room is finding the happy medium to throw back to when Kyler Murray was bona fide elite with his legs. And I'm not just talking about a busted coverage, blown coverage, great singular play call like we saw in San Francisco when he housed it from 50. Or when he was just faster than a backer and he hit the corner against the Chargers in that game, in that win. I'm talking about that wrinkle of his game being utilized at an elite level. And I'm not saying the amount of times he runs the game. I talked about this throughout the season last year. How timing-wise, a couple times a game, he can run 2-3 times a game. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be 7. Doesn't have to be 12. Doesn't have to be Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts numbers or Josh Allen numbers by any stretch. It just has to be the times where everybody's looking this way. Or it has to be the times where you're keeping opposing defenses on their heels to set up an RPO with, Greg Dortch screaming down the sideline or Michael Wilson screaming down the sideline, just to keep opposing defenses off balance enough to be able to exploit weaknesses in an effort to score touchdowns and not kick field goals. And they failed for a large chunk of last year using Kyler Murray's legs in an effective and efficient manner, not about the volume, about the timing, and about what it sets up for the grand scheme of the offense. That's going to be on Drew Petzing and Kyler Murray to figure that out. But that is massive in needing to be fixed. How do you fix the things that I just discussed? I will discuss that next as we roll on here on this second installment of how I'd fix the Cardinals. Next, Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets and do a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live bet feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly, man. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let me know what you think about this series in the comments, man. I'm going to hit all the position groups. It's going to be sweet. Quarterback, I almost waited to do Kyler Murray in the quarterback room until last, but I feel like why not just start at the top? Kyler Murray has been better than his bad press, in my opinion. He was a product of the ecosystem built for him with the first-time head coach that had no business being a head coach in the NFL. Good for Cliff Kingsbury for being a good OC. That's what he's good at. He's not good at leading men or anything else aside from being an OC. And that's fine. And he found his niche, and we'll see if his next head coach spot is going to be different. But it was a terrible, terrible thing to introduce Kyler Murray into the NFL with a head coach who had no business being in that position. So imagine Urban Meyer for 4 years, and that's what Kyler Murray got. Jacksonville was smart enough to pull the ripcord after a year, or however long it was. But it was a lot longer than or a lot shorter than a contract extension. He does need to fix a lot of things. The quarterback room needs to be fixed. How to fix the first part? I allude to this last segment. Get a backup quarterback. Get it, like a name like Tyrod Taylor, somebody like that, somebody of that avatar who can come in, and if Kyler Murray were to get injured, if he were to miss some time, this offense could be run at 70% of capacity. Who knows? Teddy Bridgewater may be looking for a job. I know that he flirted with Detroit. I don't know if he ended up on the Detroit roster. He's making a play back to the NFL. Like, I know Andy Dalton is staying in Carolina. Somebody like that. Some trustworthy rock of a backup that would be great for the locker room, experience-wise, had played, hundreds and hundreds of snaps in the NFL. That would be great to back up Kyler Murray. I think it's paramount, depending on price, depending on, contract numbers, to come in and bring somebody in, first of all. But that's, secondary, tertiary to this. How do you fix the Cardinals? Number one, or how do you fix the Cardinals quarterback room? Number one, as pertaining to faltering down the stretch, which is what we've seen countless times. What I find is, and what I've found in my, thinking a lot about this before hitting record and, spewing things out of my big dumb face, is the Cardinals don't have a backup plan to their backup plan. They don't have a contingency plan for after things don't go well. They figure out how to adjust. And then when that doesn't go well, that's a scientific verbiage for that. It's just all systems off, all systems stop. And it's just bad football. It's just bad football. And you could feel it. It's like, oh no, they're in that stretch where nobody's on the same page. You get a couple first downs, and then it's run on first down, run on second down for a loss, incomplete pass, punt, turnover, whatever it is. The Cardinals have been very frustrating and during important games. Doesn't matter on the road or at home. Like, really, it doesn't matter. It's been both. It hasn't been all both. It's on the road sometimes, it's at home sometimes. This is where, and I'm not blaming this on Drew Petzing whatsoever. This is on Kyler Murray going to Drew Petzing and be like, listen, unlocking this offense the next level with the pass game, in my humblest of damn opinions, is going to circumvent the oh no, we've got no idea what we're doing now moments for the Cardinals. How to fix the quarterback room? It's very simple. Make the offense more Kyler Murray-centric. And I'm not saying that Kyler gets bored. We had that clip where, they ran all over a team for a win, and it's like, I was just bored. I was bored. It was a joke. I was bored. I didn't do a whole lot. I think, especially in the year where it's going to be make or break for the future of Kyler Murray with the team, and that's not a threat. Like, it's going to be it. Why not see what the kid's got? Why not unlock the entirety of the potential of Kyler Murray? Why not become a little bit more of a passing team than they have been? And I understand running the ball is important. Having an important run game is I mean, you could debate it. Is more important than having a pass game where they can throw the ball over the field? I mean, potentially, you could argue that. Would you want to? I don't know. But especially infusing Marvin Harrison Jr. into a much more prominent role. How do you do that? You throw the ball more. How do you do that? You throw the ball more. And on top of that, as we come full circle on how to fix the quarterback room, you throw the ball to Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch more. Like, this is something that seems very basic. And the Cardinals just shy away. And I don't know if it's Kyler Murray just having blinders on when he goes to what he knows when things aren't going well, which, I mean, it makes sense rationally as a human. Now, it's his job until week 1 to make everybody what he knows. He trusts Greg Dortch. He trusts Michael Wilson. And sometimes there's just blinders on where it's like, keep opposing defenses honest. Get these guys the ball in space. They're great playmakers in completely different ways. And you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., and you look at Trey McBride, and you look at Trey Benson and James Conner out of the backfield. Like, Kyler Murray has an embarrassment of riches, and they haven't unlocked the entirety of this offense. I think part of it is predicated upon, or part of it is the reason behind it is they run the ball so damn much first, which is great, and boring is good, and it sets up play action. So, you know what works until it doesn't work. Why does it not work after you have to adjust to what your initial game plan didn't work? Game plan didn't work. Adjust to something different. When that doesn't work, they've got no third option. And I think the perfect just glue between the entire playbook, regardless of if the first option works of run the ball, play action or not, get the ball in Kyler Murray's hands more. I would love to see him throw more passes than he has in his entire career in a season in 2025. And it doesn't have to be down the field. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't matter what it is. The ball in Kyler Murray's hands is always the best place for it to be. And it could be him, handed the ball off on an RPO where he reads the defense and he sees, the Evan Brown, he plays left guard, and Paris Johnson blocking a huge hole on the left side for James Conner to run. Or if he sees Jonah Williams, whoever plays right tackle, have the edge set for him, and he just takes off tackle on the right side. Like, it doesn't matter. Kyler Murray having the ball in his hands, that's how you fix the quarterback room. That's how you fix it. Make it more Kyler Murray-centric. Go all the way in with Kyler Murray. You know what offense is most quarterback-centric? The best ones. And if they're not, they're masking something. I think Kyler Murray 100% has the capability to lead this team in a way that he hasn't before, because either he hasn't needed to because the run game has been going so well, or because the offense called for something else, or because he didn't have the skill position players to do it. In a season of no more excuses, let Kyler Murray eat. Make this his offense. Come hell or high water. And then you'll find out once and for all if he's the quarterback for the future or not. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you.